Hi, I'm Laura. I'm 27 years old, and I've recently found myself navigating life as a newly divorced woman. After separating from my husband Larry, our love story began in college, where we shared classes and quickly fell in love. We had a strong bond, but there was always a shadow hanging over our relationship. Larry's mother, Lily, from the beginning. Lily seemed to harbor an unexplainable dislike for me. She was always butting into our relationship, offering unsolicited advice and making me feel unwelcome. I expressed my concerns to Larry many times, but struggled to confront his mother. He was torn between his loyalty to her and his love for me. Eventually, I resigned myself to putting up with Lily's criticism, believing that Laura might have shared too much with her, giving her ammunition to criticize me. Our relationship faced many challenges, with frequent arguments about her mother's influence. Over time, he began to understand my perspective and stopped sharing the intimate details of our life with her. After 5 years of dating, we got married, much to Lily's disdain despite her attempts to interfere in our marriage. We managed to distance ourselves from a toxic presence. For a while during this period, both Larry and I found success in our careers. Although I admired Larry's accomplishments, I began to feel the need for something more personal, something that was just mine. We had split our expenses unequally, with me covering the majority, but that didn't bother me much. What weighed on me was the growing emptiness. Felt inside a desire to pursue something creative and fulfilling, tapping into my passion for design. I decided to explore graphic design as a side hustle. It became a personal project, something I could call my own, and I stuck with it secretly for a while. Growing them, I discovered where it would take me. I decided to take a leap of faith and enrolling graphic design courses, investing in equipment without Larry knowing. My best friend, Murray, was the only person I trusted about this new adventure. She was incredibly supportive, offering me both encouragement and practical advice while my skills as my confid. And grew. Murray introduced Meadow people interested in hiring me. Even though I was just starting out, they appreciated my work and trusted me with their projects, helping me gradually build a client base. This new source of income made a huge difference in our lives. It relieved the financial pressures we faced and allowed Laura and me to enjoy a more comfortable lifestyle. With each paycheck, I saved a portion, dreaming of surprising with something special as a token of my appreciation for his support. However, he had not mentioned any of this yet, and every time I thought about mentioning it, he seemed to be avoiding serious conversations. It was not long before I noticed something was not right. Lar became more and more distant. I could not shake the feeling that he was hiding something from me. The first real sign of trouble came when Larry admitted that he had spent his entire paycheck in investments just a week after receiving it. We had a heated argument about it, but we managed to work things out for the time being to help make ends meet. I worked overtime, which helped alleviate some of the financial pressure. But the following month, Lara repeated the same behavior, and I found myself feeling more and more frustrated. I didn't understand how I could be so careless with his earnings, especially when I was working so hard to contribute to the household. At one point, I threw words and teeth. Although I quickly regretted my outburst, however, when Garan again found himself broke, for the 5th month in a row, I hit my limit. I had been meticulously managing our finances, working tirelessly, not only at my day job, but also at my growing graphic design business, which it was becoming our main source of income. It was clear that something had to change, and I could not continue to carry the load alone. I had reached my limit. How could you let this happen again? You have not learned anything. I reproached Larry. My frustration boiled despite his attempts to justify his action. I was determined not to help him this time. Larry reacted with indignation and defensiveness, but I stood firm. You cannot bet your entire salary and expect me to cover you. I stated that I will not allow this behavior any longer. Our argument quickly escalated with crossed accusations until finally Laura left, leaving me alone to deal with the whirlwind of our falling apart relationship. After our confrontation, I could not get the feeling that there was something more to Larry's behavior. Suspicions began to arise, and I wondered if Lily, her meddling mother, might be involved. Determined to find out the truth, I decided to investigate while Larry was away. It wasn't long before I found what Larry was looking for. He had carelessly left this bank account on my laptop, and what I discovered shocked me. Contrary to his claims of being broke, Larry had more than enough money stashed away. While I was examining his transactions, I found nothing unusual, just the usual debits and credits. But I didn't understand why he had been hiding his finances from me. Tellingly's looking for clarity. I delved into his messages, and the first person I noticed, he was texting Wash's mother. Lily's conversation revolved around our recent fight with Mara, painting me as the antagonist, saying that I had reprimanded him for withholding money. Lily seemed to revel in the discord, asserting her suspicions about me. As I scrolled down, I discovered a disturbing revelation. Lydia had been ranting about Met to Larry, calling me materialistic and implying that I was only with him for financial interest. Ironically, I was the primary breadwinner in our household. Their exchanges showed how Lily's toxic influence had fueled Larry's complaints against me, magnifying minor annoyances and fueling his resentment. The final blow came when I realized how deeply Lily's words had sunk into Larry's mind, distorting his perception of our relationship and turning him against me. The truth was exposed, and it left me so baleful when I discovered her plan to cut me off financially. It felt as if the ground had fallen out from under my feet. Initially hesitant, Larry gradually gave into Lily's manipulations, slowly giving in to her demands. I unconsciously provided her with more ammunition by sharing moments where I had expressed my frustrations, further fueling her animosity towards me. This betrayal was devastating, leaving me overwhelmed with pain and confusion. I didn't know what to do next, and turned to my best friend Mary, seeking solace in her presence, comforting. I confided in her, revealing the painful truth I had discovered and seeking to despair of her guidance at this tumultuous time. Mary, always the confidant, faithfully listened, attentively offering me her unwavering support as I struggled to process the betrayal inflicted by those closest to me. The situation weighed heavily on me, and I found myself at an uncertain crossroads on the best course of action. It seemed clearly obvious to cut off support to Larry, wait for him to hit rock bottom, and then file for divorce. But Mara questioned the morality of such a plan, suggesting it might be too much. Her concern led me to rethink my approach, and she advised me to sleep about it and revisit the problem the next day, exhausted both physically and emotionally. I welcomed the reprieve that sleep promised. The next morning, with the comfort of a weekend ahead of us, Mary and I decided to find solace in the familiarity of a favorite movie. We drifted off to sleep in each other's company, the tranquility of the day offering a temporary sense of peace, a brief respite from the whirlwind brewing within me. We indulged in simple pleasures, immersed in movies, enjoying culinary delights, and savoring each other's company despite the lingering thoughts of the previous day's revelation. I made a conscious effort to put them aside, prioritizing the much-needed rest from the stress and seasoning I had been experiencing. However, our quiet truce was brief. A call from Lily broke the calm. Reluctantly, I responded, only to be faced with accusation and hostility. Her unfounded attacks only served to increase the tension, but with Murray's encouragement, I managed to maintain my composure amidst Lily's tirade. Then, in the midst of the hostility, an unexpected proposal arose: a 40-60 split of everything between Derry and I. It was a proposal that clearly encapsulated skepticism, a test of my commitment to marriage. Despite the audacity of her demand, it left me contemplating the next steps in what was becoming an increasingly difficult and painful situation. I accepted, willing to explore any possibility of salvaging what was left of our relationship. The tentative acceptance, we set plans in motion, culminating in a meeting scheduled for Friday to formalize the agreement. Despite the lingering uncertainty, I decided to meet the challenge head-on, armed with a new determination to navigate the tumultuous waters. Zahedi was stunned by the turn my marriage had taken, caught between disbelief and seething anger. How could Lily charm a gold digger, and how could Larry stand by and allow such an accusation? I had stood by his side through thick and thin, supporting his efforts even when they resulted in losses. I'd covered up his lies and shouldered the burden of our shared responsibilities, all the while keeping my side hustle secret, waiting for the right time to reveal it. When I shared the details with Mary, his smile hinted at the brilliance of the plans. Splitting everything evenly would leave Larry with little to depend on, given his lack of knowledge about my additional income. I had initially hoped to surprise him with a lavish gift once my side business gained traction, but now I was just glad to have him as a safety net. Friday arrived promptly, and Mary accompanied me to give me support. When we got home, we found Lily and a lawyer already there finalizing the contract. Ignoring Larry's silent plea for privacy, I approached Lily and demanded to review the terms. As expected, the agreement stipulated an equitable division of assets with a clause prohibiting financial assistance between us. I reluctantly signed, knowing that this I would leave Larry struggling financially. Predictably, problems arose. Initially, our communication was limited to sharp words. The rift between us was too deep to be bridged. However, living under the same roof required some level of interaction. Larry tried to reach out and repair the rift, but I remained distant, resentful of his complacency in the situation. Over time, Larry's persistent attempts to reconnect became tiring. The weight of our fractured relationship weighed us down, increasingly difficult to maintain my resolve despite everything. The reality of our situation was sinking in, and I knew the road ahead would not be easy. Eventually it would be, "Can you please talk to me? We can't goon like this." Larry pleaded, his voice filled with longing. It surprised me. It was disconcerting to hear him express how much he missed our connection, especially after he had agreed to cut off our finances completely. What do you want me to say, Larry? I replied, my frustration. Lara, that's why you agreed to our finances completely. His silence was deafening, revealing the deep divisiveness between USA's West. Stood on the brink of our broken marriages, struggling with the weight of our decisions, not knowing if reconciliation was even possible. I just need to know where your loyalty lies, Laura pleaded. Despite all the problems caused by your mother, you still choose to take her side. Is this really what you think is best for us? Please, Larry, don't speak badly of my mother. Even if I countered him, feeling confused and hurt. And what wealth are you so concerned about? I don't understand, I added. I'm just trying to fix things between us. We can't stop attacking each other. There will be no reconciliation until that contract be null and void, Lara replied defensively. It's only been 3 weeks since we signed, and I haven't seen any evidence that you're not the money if you're struggling financially. Just let me know. I'm willing to help, I offered, trying to bridge the gap between us. Wouldn't that be a violation of the contract? I'm not going to risk violating it, I insisted. Why are you making this so difficult? Can't we just be civilized? I could see Lars struggling with conflicting influences, his mother's and his own. The Larry I married would not have submitted to such manipulation that month. I focused on paying off 4 major debts, leaving Larry to fend for himself. With my share settled, I had more money available, and Mara and I enjoyed lavish outings, while Larry always had an excuse for his financial limitations. My side business of graphic design was thriving, and I began to seriously consider quitting my full-time job. Meanwhile, Larry struggled with his share of the often empty pantry. Although part of me felt sympathy for him, I could not ignore the decisions he had made that led us to this point. I reminded myself that Larry had brought this situation on himself, but that did not make the unfolding events any easier to handle. However, Lily's unexpected visit threw me off balance. She stormed into my house, her face a mask of anger, and before I could even greet her, she accused me of stealing Larry's words. They hit me like a slap in the face. I was not only confused, but I also immediately became defensive. How could she think I was robbing my husband of what you were talking? I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. You are accusing me of seeking revenge against Larry, because I don't like the contract he made, a sign that is absurd. Your son has been fighting all month, but it's not because he has been stealing his money to finance my outing. She has no money to steal, and you know it. And let's not forget, forced us to sign that contract in the first place. You forced it, and now your son is paying the price. Lily's eyes closed, and I could see her temper flaring. He screamed, I'm calling the police. Go ahead now, I replied, meeting his gaze head on. I haven't taken a single cent from your son. You won't find anything because there's nothing to find. So how come you have so much money? He demanded, without giving up. Your job doesn't pay that much more than Larry's, and he has told me you've cut back on your hours. Where is all this money coming from? It took a deep breath, deciding now is the time to lay it all out. I have another side business. I started a graphic design company that I've been working at for a while. I plan to surprise Larry with that, show him what he had accomplished, but thanks to your constant meddling, that plan went overboard. I was even going to use the MOOC to buy you a a gesture of goodwill to show you that I am not the person you think I am. Lily looked shocked, but she wasn't ready to give up yet. How much do you make from this side business? She asked, her voice tinged with suspicion. More than you would expect, I replied. I've worked hard to build something successful, something I am proud of. And all this time I was not lying or trying to deceive anyone. I was simply trying to do something good, something positive. And now, thanks to your interference, everything I have accomplished has been put in jeopardy. If you care so much about your son, maybe you should be the one to support him instead of tearing down everything I have built. With that, took a deep breath and pulled out a set of divorce papers. I had been saving for this moment. The sight of them seemed to surprise Lily, but I no longer cared about her reaction. Turned to Larry, who had been standing silently, his expression a mix of guilt and resignation. No, I wanted this to come to this point. Larry, Azed, my voice warning, use after everything that has been through, but I can't keep doing this. I can't keep living under the shadow of your mother's influence, and I can't keep pretending ever. He thinks okay when it's not. I've worked hard to build a life for myself, and I deserve to be with someone who supports that, not someone who holds their mother destroy yous. And she looked down, unable to look me in the eyes. Lydia opened her mouth to say something, but I cut her off before she could start. This isn't just about money, I continued. It's about respect, trust, and the foundation of our relationship that should have been built on mutual support. I've done my best to support you, Larry, even when things were tough, but I need to take care of myself now. I need to protect what I've built. With those words, I handed the divorce papers to Lee. The silence that followed was heavy, filled with the weight of everything that had brought us to this point. Lily looked at the papers, then at Larry, her face a mask of disbelief. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, and the road ahead would be full of challenges, but I also knew I couldn't continue to sacrifice my happiness and well-being for a relationship that was no longer salty. As it turned to leave, I felt a sense of finality, but also a sense of relief. I had taken the steps necessary to protect myself, and now it was time to move on. What the future held for me, I was ready to face it on my own terms, with the knowledge that I had done everything I could to make things right. I had filed for divorce right after we signed the contract, keeping the papers secret until the time was right to reveal them. When I finally handed them to Larry, the shock on his face was unmistakable, but I felt no sympathy. Had given him every chance to make things right, and he had chosen his way, expected Lily to be pleased, given how hard he had pushed for this separation. Instead, his expression changed to one of fury. I realized the magnitude of what this would mean for Lave. I anticipated that reaction, having laid out the terms in the divorce agreement as a precaution. I made sure I took control of my own life. There was no turning back. And although it hurt to see how far we had fallen, I knew I had made the right decision. With my business thriving and the weight of a toxic relationship lifted, I was free to pursue the future on my own terms.